When black people say they're anti-gun, it raises a lot of questions in my mind. And the overall question is, why? Because in my mild yet humble and entirely accurate opinion, there should be 0 blacks who are anti-gun. But it's not that simple. In this video, I'll explain why every black person should be pro-gun, then we'll circle back like Saki. Now, before we get too deep in the weeds, we need to make sure we all have an understanding that a firearm is a tool. Just like a bat, a knife, a sword, or bow and arrow, it doesn't have life. Whatever it's used for solely depends on the human being who's using it. If you can't wrap your mind around that, you're going to struggle with this video. So go on and leave a negative comment below. For the rest of us, let's get to the historical context first. If you're unaware, slavery was a big deal in the past. Now, this isn't a history lesson on slavery, but we need to touch on it for a second. Blacks were enslaved in Africa, Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and the Americas, including the United States, Brazil, Cuba, Haiti, Barbados, Puerto Rico, and Jamaica. Slavery is identified by Merriam-Webster as the practice or institution of holding people as chattel, involuntary, and under threat of violence. So, quick question. How does one threaten violence against an entire group of people? You could threaten to beat them up, but let's be real. You just get jumped by a bunch of dudes and get put back in your place. You need a weapon of some sort, or a force multiplier, if you will. Well, at one point, the force multiplier of choice was a knife. Then it was swords and bow and arrows. Then guns came on the scene. Guns became the most capable and effective tool to essentially stop another person from doing something you didn't want them to do. It didn't matter if you were bigger or smaller than that person, because it was the great equalizer. You didn't have to get close to the person and have good technique like a samurai. It trumped all human strength. So let's fast forward to certain points in history where blacks got fed up, for lack of a better term, with how they were being treated and decided to fight for freedom, autonomy, and justice. You had the Haitian Revolution in 1791, where enslaved Africans began a massive rebellion against their French masters. One of its most prominent leaders was Toussaint Louverture. They did this successfully with guns. There was also the Nat Turner Rebellion in 1831. Nat Turner was a slave and a preacher who believed that he was chosen by God to help liberate his people from slavery. He had about 70 people join him in his rebellion, and they went from plantation to plantation, freeing slaves and deleting slave owners with guns. While the rebellion only lasted a couple days and Turner was eventually captured and put to death, it became a symbol of resistance against slavery in the United States and had a significant impact in the abolitionist movement leading up to the Civil War. Speaking of Civil War, everyone thinks it's cool that Harriet Tubman carried a pistol on her on rescue missions. And she also carried a sharpshooter's rifle during the Civil War. She's so strong, they say. She's such a role model. What about the Maroons of Jamaica? They successfully escaped slavery and fought against British colonial forces who also had guns. And they won. Since both sides had guns, it was the Maroons who proved victorious because of their guerrilla tactics and knowledge of the terrain. Think about that for 1 second. The British forces were considered to be more skilled and better trained, yet they were defeated by slaves with guns. Then you have the entire civil rights era, which is a whole video series itself. But an easy takeaway is Huey P. Newton, the co-founder of the Black Panther Party. Newton and the Panthers advocated for the right to armed self-defense, emphasizing that black citizens had the constitutional right to bear arms and protect themselves like everyone else. They also carried guns openly in California. But you know, people in positions of power couldn't let that slide. So let's touch on that part, the not letting it slide part. Because the whole time these things were going on, many people in positions of authority did not want blacks to have access to firearms. Consider this. Why would people who run the city, county, state, region, or country want to give power to the people they also want to maintain power over? They wouldn't. That's stupid. HarvardLawReview.org has a pretty decent essay on gun control laws that were put in place because of black people. Not black and brown people. We're not talking about them right now. Stop including everyone in black people's business. For example, in Dred Scott versus Sanford, Chief Justice Roger Taney argued that one reason black people couldn't be citizens under the Constitution was that it, quote, would give to persons of the Negro race the right to keep and carry arms wherever they went. Dang, that's crazy. Why would you not allow that? Martin Luther King Jr. was denied a concealed carry permit even after his house was firebombed. Dang, that's crazy. Why would you not allow that? There's a quote by Saul Cornell from Fordham University which reads, quote, saying gun laws are always racist is just false. Saying that gun laws have never been racist is also just wrong. To circle back to the beginning, I said my overall question is, why? And that's what I mean. I don't understand why anyone would be anti-gun, but especially if you're black. There's nothing in history that shows that the use of guns won't benefit you. It's been benefiting our own people for years. People get emotional and say, well, we shouldn't have to live in a world where people do bad things. Well, we do. Next topic. Ain't nobody got time for that rhetoric. Oh, but what about black on black crime and gang violence? What about it? That's largely a socioeconomic issue that also has to do with poor political policies, mostly pushed by people who agree that blacks shouldn't have a gun, which is inherently racist. So before we wrap this up, there's always that small percentage of people, they don't get it. You know, they gotta be spoken to a little bit differently. So I'm gonna talk to them real quick and then we're gonna double back and wrap it up. What are you on, bro? What are you on? What, you feel safe out here? What, you didn't get the talk? You didn't get the driving while black talk from your people? You didn't get the how to conduct yourself in society as a black man talk from your people? You wake up in the morning and you're like, oh yeah, man, I feel great, man. I feel like the government's doing a great job protecting a brother. No, you don't. So why wake up and advocate for your God-given right to be taken away to defend yourself against a government who we've just talked about hasn't cared about you and doesn't care about you now? And then you have all these political pimps out here. They're always screaming, oh, it's oppression, oh, it's injustice. It's an injustice against the black man. So you're going to give up your right to fight the injustice? You sound ignorant in real life. Fix it. Hey man, don't get mad at me. You know, some people just don't respond to astute observation of information and analysis, and they need to be spoken to a little bit, you know, just a little bit more raw, and a little bit more real, so all of God's people can be on the same page at the same time. Great. Now to wrap up, this video could have easily been 2 hours long, but the point of it is to make you think. Think about what you're advocating against. Think about what you're resisting. Think about the people who want your vote and blatantly say they won't be helping black people. And they also want to revoke your God-given right to self-defense, the same right those before you fought so hard to get. Think about it. Now you might want to watch this again to let it sink in. Feel free. As always, like, comment, subscribe. We're going to put honorable mentions of several topics that we didn't get to. Like I said, this could have been 2 hours long easily, but these are different things that happen in history that you need to read up on to know what happened before so it doesn't happen again. So I appreciate you all watching. See you on the next one. Roll mine.